This is not a children's hospital but a lair of a human trafficking gang. They kidnap the children and sell them to families who need them. What is more barbaric is that they will kill the unsatisfactory children that the other families return. Uncle Tsit joined this illegal ring because he needed money to operate on his mother. A senior tasked Tsit with destroying the black bag behind the axle into the cement barrel. Tsit didn't know what was inside, but because he needed money, he didn't care much. Then Tsit put the black bag in the bucket and proceeded to pour cement on it. At that moment, Tsit saw the bag moving, so he opened it and looked at it. Tsit panicked when there was a little girl inside. She always begged Tsit not to kill her. There was no other way for Tsit to shoot, but the sound of the gun was just to get past the senior's eyes. The poor children were saved by Tsit one after another and secretly brought back to be raised. More than 10 years later, the children rescued by Uncle Tsit are now adults. They live in an abandoned house to avoid the eyes and ears of the human trafficking gang out there. Tommy looked through the window and saw the other mother and daughter in the street. She remembered the scene where her adoptive mother had also abandoned her without a trace of mercy. Until now, she is still very resentful and always curses her. The people here all understand the heartache of Sumi, when they are all children abandoned by their adoptive families when they are not needed. Seeing that Zomi's mood today was not good, he invited the group to go out to eat fried chicken. But if you want to have chickens to eat, everyone needs to have money. A crazy plan begins to emerge and the group will proceed to rob the casino of money. Stealing money alone was not fun enough, so these 4 people flew out to play a betting game. They divided into 2 teams, and the team that found the money would be exempt from cleaning the room, even washing dishes. Soon all 4 began to act. They dealt with the guards on the outside and then brazenly broke in. Here they discovered the place where they hid the money. Without a hint of brilliance, everyone quickly started to work. They activated the emergency system, causing gamblers to flee in a panic. Then the whole group immediately took action with the managers here. Everyone can easily take down the names one by one without much effort. The ability to perform martial arts is superfluous thanks to the teaching of the uncle of the chain for many years. At that moment, the police whistle suddenly sounded outside. Hearing that, they quickly escaped from here. Hyun's team looked towards the close to keep the money, but it didn't fly away. It turned out that Soma's team was 1 step ahead and was keeping the money. Even so, Hyun only took 1 bill out of that huge amount of money. This is more than enough for the whole group to go eat fried chicken. As for the rest of the money, they will let the police come to handle it. When everyone had just bought fried chicken but had not had time to eat it, they received a phone call from the chain. Immediately, the group returned to the base to receive the punishment. He made the group hold guns and shoot at the targets over there, as if to illustrate the people who tortured people in the past. The chain uncle was very angry when they all went out again without asking permission. This is very dangerous in the eyes of the human trafficking gang. If they found out, it would all be over and so would my uncle. Somi wondered how long we would live like this. We couldn't go out and no one came looking for us. We don't even have names, it's better for us to die if we live like this. Standing next to him, Somi interrupted, "We all have to live here because we don't want to die. Because everyone when they meet the chain uncle says the right sentence, 'Please save me and I want to live.'" Immediately afterwards, he went into the room to check on the situation of the so-called adopted children, but found nowhere to be found. She's in the gym and punching frantically into sandbags. Just like Somi, Hyun didn't want to live a life like this. The chain uncle revealed that he had found a small shift boat. He's planning to get everyone out of here. And the chain uncle couldn't go with him. He said there was still work to be done. "When everything is over, I will find our place by myself." Hyun knew that the chain was staying to save the other children. She thought that everything was not his fault. It's not something you can decide for yourself. But the chain can't go with everyone anyway. He will talk about this with the rest of the people, and wants to entrust everything to Hyun because she is only in the house. The next day, a group of child traffickers caught a journalist when he wanted to find out. The journalist is always addicted to begging for his life because he still has his wife and children at home. Even if they talk about saliva, they will never spare. They immediately took action to kill the journalist without the slightest hesitation. They then left a suicide note to create the scene of a suicide. At the same time, the female Dr. Sihi visited the orphanage. The children here see her as their mother, but they didn't know that Mrs. Sihi was also involved in a human trafficking ring. Mrs. Sihi then joined a TV show to talk about the children. She tried to present herself as a person who loved children very much. The sweet words of a mother made Hyun infectious. She began to remember her mother with the same warm things. At school, parents are standing in the back as if they are participating in a session. The teacher asked a question, and Mrs. Sehe's daughter immediately answered. She answered very well, making everyone in the class nod and applaud, and Mrs. Sehe couldn't help but be proud of her talented daughter. Immediately afterwards, the teacher assigned the boy to stand up and answer. He was confused and couldn't answer, which made the whole class laugh. Saigas's adoptive mother feels disgraced and disappointed in her son. Through the test, the teacher announced that Sigu could not meet the requirements to enter the Mensa math class. Mrs. Min-do begged the teacher to let her son retake the test, but only received a shake of his head. Going outside, Sigu begged his mother to let him go to the park after school. From her cold expression, she smiled and immediately agreed, but behind that was an extremely cruel plan. Soon after, she took the Sigu to the park to play as the boy wanted. But on the other hand, she called the traffickers to return the goods. Then she left here coldly with a satisfied smile. Min-do called her husband to talk about the plan. She was annoyed that the Sigu wasn't as smart as what the traffickers had said before selling. Min-do wanted to push the Sigu away to adopt another child. The child trafficking gang will treat the Sigu as if it were a disappearance. So she advised her husband to rest assured. Then she told her husband to come here to start the play. On the other side, Sigu began to look for his mother, but he was nowhere to be found. The boy got lost in an uninhabited maze and met the pangolin here. He had previously received an order to kill the boy. On this side, Mrs. Min-do started the role and tried to show panic when she couldn't find her son. She cried and kept calling Saigas's name. The husband was also here and the two immediately played the role like a heartbreaking story. Meanwhile, the pangolin took the little Sigu away. At this time, he received a phone call from a middle-aged man. He said that he was on his way to the place to deal with the boy, which made the pangolin feel confused. Shortly afterwards, the pangolin revealed to the Sigu that he was currently being kidnapped. The people who ordered her abduction were her adoptive parents. Sigu didn't believe this, so he opened the phone's recording to the boy. Inside was the voice of Mrs. Min-do asking to kill the Sigu. Hearing this made the boy surprised. Sissy advised the boy to rest assured that he would save him. But from now on, you have to listen to what you say if you want to live on. The pangolin handed the boy a map that led to the secret base. There will be children like you and they will welcome you. Don't let anyone see this thing on the way. The pangolin immediately texted Hyun to say that a child would come. Please take care of him. Along the way, the little Sigu still couldn't believe what the pangolin said about his adoptive mother, so the boy called her on a payphone. Mrs. Min-do picked up the phone, but Sigu didn't say anything, but just cried. After a while, the Sigu started calling her mother, which made her panic. As for the husband, he always said that the boy had been dealt with, how could he still be alive? Hearing this, the Sigu began to believe that what the pangolin said was true. The boy cried with tears and kept calling his adoptive parents names in the rain. Ms. Min-do then informed the trafficker. Receiving the news, Director Dong immediately called Mr. Dong-chun to ask about the Sigu boy. Immediately, Mr. Dong-chun immediately took the car to the Sigu disposal place to check. Sigu went to the secret base and rang the doorbell. Everyone wondered if it was true that the boy the pangolin was referring to went to the wrong house. On this side, Mr. Dong-chun ran in panic and asked the pangolin about the little Sigu. Pestik immediately pointed to the iron bin next to him and closed it. At this point, Mr. Dong-chun was able to breathe a sigh of relief. At the same time, the gang led by the director Dong came. He immediately shot down Mr. Dong-chun without listening to the explanation. This Dong turned to catch the pangolin to open the iron barrel to check. Tess quickly snatched the gun and asked him if he had ever looked the children in the eyes. In their eyes, it was hell. This guy also rushed in and snatched the gun back, but couldn't. The pangolins fired at them to find a way to escape. He fought a dozen guys on the other side alone. Num quickly fired a bullet into the gas tank, causing it to explode, but at that opportunity, he climbed into the car and left there in front of their pursuit. On this side, the group made a simple birthday cake to celebrate Sigu, because when the boy stepped in here, it was like the day of rebirth. Sigu ate every piece of cake without stopping under tears. At that moment, everyone saw a police car passing by the house. They immediately turned on the high-frequency audio recorder to eavesdrop. The policeman outside was looking for the boy Sigu. This makes people curious as to why the police are involved. Hyun then asked Sigu if anything happened on the way when she came here. Have you seen anyone, or if anyone has seen you? Sigu admitted that he called his mother. Everyone was panicked when they found out about this. Hyun is convinced that the pangolin is in danger now. Immediately tried to drive a motorbike to find him. On the other side, the pangolin was still being pursued by the gang. This guy shot at the tires of the car, causing him to lose control. Then his car turned around a few times before plunging into the precipice. In just a moment, the car suddenly exploded in front of Hyun's eyes. In tears of joy, remembering the moment when he was saved by the pangolin in the past. At that time, he sat in a corner in anxiety when he didn't know how to face his superiors. Then Hyun slowly walked over and gave the pangolin a scarf named after her. This made him burst into tears. The pangolin then took Hyun to an abandoned public bathhouse. It was also the place that was called her home until later. Time passed like that, and 3 other members were saved by the pangolin one after another and brought here to life. All 5 people live happily together like a family. This is the place where the 4 poor children are reborn once again by the pangolin. Returning to the reality that the TV station is reporting on the pangolin's accident. However, his body was not found at the scene but was missing. The police have not been able to determine the cause, so they think that the victim may have intentionally committed suicide or had an accident. Zomi still couldn't believe this heartbreaking truth. She turned to scold Sigu because the boy had called his mother, so it turned out like that. Seeing this, she immediately gave her a slap so that she would wake up again. At that moment, the call bell rang when there were 2 names of the human trafficking gang outside. They kept calling my name and saying that I wanted to find you and say sorry. The sausage immediately covered his mouth to avoid letting the boy answer. The other 2 men did not hear any noise, so they were forced to leave. Feeling that it was no longer safe here, she immediately told everyone to pack up and leave here. Hyun opened the safe and found that inside was a file of people related to the abandoned children, accompanied by the pangolin's confessions. He admitted that he felt suspicious inside the black sacks from the beginning, even though they say it's just garbage. But the disposal of garbage for which they pay so much money is too absurd. It wasn't until he met Hyun that he began to understand everything. He saw the image of the children he had killed in Hyun's eyes. To atone for all his mistakes, the pangolin saved Hyun and the other children. Even so, he always considered himself a terrible person. And the pangolin didn't want people to take pity on him because he didn't think he was worthy. Here Hyun sees a tape recorder. Inside is the voice of a man named Sahan. He called a woman and wanted to cancel the adoption of the children 17 years ago, with the reason that they did not meet the required quality. A man named Han Chunso also canceled the adoption of the children for the same reason. At the same time, he received a message from someone. They revealed that the express train will leave the port of Incheon at 1 a.m. on Wednesday. Before leaving, he advised everyone to forget all past memories. What the pangolin wants is for us to go out freely. Now we don't have to live in hiding anymore if we get there. As soon as he finished speaking, a loud explosion sounded. When outside, a group of people led by Dung brother came here. Seeing this, all of them quickly escaped, and Susu did not forget to leave a gas cylinder on the stove. People can't go through the main door, so they have to break the back door to escape. The Dung brothers' people were able to go inside, but they didn't see anyone. At the same time, the gas bottle that the coin placed had reached the time of exploding. Taking that opportunity, they all cut off their tails smoothly. The next day in class, everyone talked about the fact that they hadn't seen a penny go to school in the past few days. There are rumors that he has been admitted to a mental hospital, but there are also rumors that he has gone missing. Mrs. Cece's daughter felt very suspicious about this. Moreover, Susu was her best friend in class. On the way back, she saw her daughter's melancholy face, so Mrs. Che Hai immediately reminded her. She always told her to pay attention to her appearance when she went out. Hearing this, the little girl immediately changed her face and became fresher. She always asked her daughter to stand out anywhere. She said that when she was in school, her mother thought she would die if she didn't stand first. But now my mother is still alive because she has never lost her number 1 position. Hearing this, the little girl must have chilled her back. She then went to her uncle and then she told about her best friend in class, Shigu. There are rumors that he is in a mental hospital, but there are also people who say he is missing. Anyway, I really hope he'll be fine. Hearing this, Brother Dung immediately told his niece to go home. That evening, Hui UNS group went to a restaurant by the sea. The boss asked where the ship was, but no one answered, and then he invited everyone inside to talk. Inside, he gave Hui some money to go on the road. Hui was going to refuse, but he kept forcing him to take it. Soon after, he took them all to his people and told them to take care of the children. Then these two guys put everyone in an empty container. When they didn't have time to understand what was going on, they locked the door. But fortunately, Duan had an electric gun with him, so he promptly killed a guy out there. At the same time, Rong brothers' group of people came. Seeing this, everyone quickly fled in front of their pursuit. Duan and Somi hid in a container and saw the firecrackers. Duan hid it for Somi to lure them here, and he would take care of it. As soon as they arrived, the firecrackers exploded, causing them to panic. Taking that opportunity, the two immediately stole one of their cars. On this side, Huiyun was walking alone when he was shot in the head by the Deng brother. He thought she was a worthless waste. Huiyun immediately snatched the magazine from his hand and the two rushed at each other. After a while of punching and kicking, she also stole the gun and put the bullet in. However, Huiyun did not shoot him and only shot the container as a warning. Seeing his teammates coming to pick him up, Huiyun immediately climbed into the car and the group escaped safely. The next day, Huiyun opened the recording that she found in the safe for everyone to hear. In it is the confession of the people who adopt people here. They abandon people not because of lack of money to raise. It's because they see people as a low-quality commodity. Liking is returning without a little mercy. Huiyun really wanted to find out the truth. Why do the people who were once our fathers and mothers insist on killing us? Especially the identity of the leader of the human trafficking ring. The person that Uncle Tsith has not been able to find for many years. Through the file that Mr. Tsith has investigated and collected, there is a photo of a member of the band and there is always a transmission line in his hand. He remembered that he had seen it before. It was the principal of the elementary school and also the adoptive father of Zomi. He always carried that line in his hand. He had used this cord to hypnotize Somi, and now he had her. Then she was texted by her adoptive mother and cornered. Immediately, everyone set out to follow him to a restaurant. After he ate and drank heavily, Huiyun began to approach. She asked him if he wanted to hire a driver and gave him his name. Huiyun then drove him home, while Susu and Sumi would follow behind. When he arrived, he suddenly wanted to see Hui UNS driver's license. He kept asking her how old she was, and then he wanted to invite her to the house for a cup of coffee. Huiyun said that I was actually in desperate need of money. I would do anything as long as I had money. But I know a little girl who you might like more, too. But she was still a minor. Hearing this, he immediately opened his eyes and told Huiyun to just call the girl. Because I am a person who likes children very much. Over there, Suan pretended to be a girl to prepare to serve him playing buckets. He went to his house and rang the doorbell. Seeing this, he was extremely eager to open the door to invite his muse in. As soon as he set foot in, this eager guy immediately went out to compose a coin and he couldn't control it, so he gave the pervert a punch. At that moment, Exo Mai and his accomplices had also broken into here. Zomi pointed a gun at him and forced him to crouch. Immediately afterwards, everyone tied up this eager old man. Zomi angrily asked him where she had written Ong Mai. At this point, he realized that Zomi was the adopted son who had been used in the past. He smiled strangely and complimented him on how beautiful he was. Without a moment's hesitation, she immediately threw a punch in his face. She pointed the gun at her head and asked him where she had written Ong Mai. He trembled and said that she had returned to her parents' house. But Tommy was convinced that they were lies. She threatened to release sensitive photos on her phone if he didn't tell the truth. Hyun also turned on the recording that he had previously admitted to liking minors. At this point, he revealed that she recorded Ong Mai in a mental hospital. He was crazy, so I put him in there. After hearing that you were missing, he went looking for you everywhere and finally went crazy. The one who returned you was not her, but me. It turned out that Mr. Tran Exo had used her phone to write Ong Mai to text Exo Mai. Make an appointment to push me outside and let someone corner her. She wrote that Ong Mai really didn't know anything about this. After learning the truth, Exo Mai could not keep his calm and immediately opened fire. But that gunshot was just to scare him. Standing outside, Duan must also be startled by it. The police also heard this gunshot, so they are sending people here to check. Hyun finds the card in his backpack. She immediately asked him who gave this card. He didn't dare to open his mouth because if he did so, they would send him to heaven. Outside, Doan told everyone to quickly get out of there when the police were coming. Doan had just walked out of the gate when he encountered the people of the human trafficking gang. And so they immediately gave him a fight. When they went inside, he was the only one left. Although he always begged for help, Dong Hein ignored him. Then he was constantly afraid to send Mr. Tran back to reunite with his grandparents. Below, Hyun and his accomplices rescued Doan in time. Everyone quickly ran away from there in front of their pursuit. Standing on the rooftop, Dong Hein immediately opened fire when he saw everyone. But he didn't hit anything. They were everywhere, forcing Hyun to open fire in response. At the same time, Doan and Zomi were also confronting another group on the other side. The two of them took turns processing the names one by one in just a moment. Meanwhile, this Dong Hein was shooting continuously at Hai Yun's body. She only knew that there was a cluster in the corner and could not respond. It seemed that everything had ended with Hyun, but fortunately, the police arrived in time. Hai Yun immediately rushed out in the middle of the road, so Dong Hein couldn't dare to shoot. Immediately, his teammates took Hyun away in front of the surprise of the policeman. Dong Hein then reported the situation to Mrs. Se-hai. She ordered Dong Hein to take her back alive. It turned out that in the past, she was the person behind the removal of Hyun. This side hopes to lead people to an abandoned house to stay temporarily. At the same time, she apologized to the children for not being able to arrange a better place. Even so, everyone said that this place was too good. Immediately, everyone shook hands and cleaned up everything. In just a moment, they all had their own place to sleep. Sausage was surprised by what kind of person her parents used to be. Among the parents who have abandoned us, there is probably at least one kind person, just like Sumi's mother. Hai Yun revealed that she also had a mother, a person who always wants himself to shine more than anyone else. Saihi's daughter went to Min Ja's house to ask about her friend Sigu. Now she saw that she had adopted another child. She played the role crying again and said that her family was still looking for Sigu. He was a good boy, but unfortunately there was no news about him yet. The next day, the police came to search Hyun and everyone's old residence. Here Tan Cha-choi found a joint photo of them all. At the same time, the subordinate called when he had found the owner of the phone at the scene of the accident. That person's name is Tae-sik, and the father Choi received a photo of Tae-sik. It was indeed the man in the photo he had just picked up. On the other side, everyone is wondering about the VIP card of the Chan, so they don't know how this thing will be used. At the same time, everyone received information that Mr. Chan So had passed away. The police obtained security video at his home. All of them were panicked when they were now suspects in the murder of Mr. Chanso. His phone fell apart when his wife called. Somi picked up the phone and called her mother's name, and she kept shedding tears and pretending not to recognize Somi. She always says that I'm fine, so don't visit me this week. The doctor here treats me very well. Like if you come, remember to bring your daughter with you. She was busy preparing for the audition. When I am discharged from the hospital, I will accompany her to the audition. Hearing this, Somi was touched and kept shedding tears. She wrote that Mr. Mi was faking mental illness when standing next to him was Brother Dong. He whispered in her ear a sentence full of implications. She really thought her daughter wouldn't come to visit if she acted like that. After thinking for a while, Hyun told everyone to go find Somi's mother. Maybe she will know how to use Mr. Chanso's VIP card. On this side, Mrs. Se-hai went to the church to meet a woman. That woman is in need of a child because she can't get pregnant. And the person she needed was a talented daughter like Mrs. Se's daughter. That night, Hyun's group broke into the mental hospital to find Somi's mother. But they couldn't go deeper because there was a locked door. When Shiyun was about to leave, she encountered the nurse, and she immediately pulled out a knife to attack Shiyun and Susu. After taking down the nurse, the group of gang members let go and pulled over. The two of them split up to fight them back to find a way to escape. On the other hand, they tried to prolong the time for Somi and Duan to find Mrs. Dingmi. After searching for a while, they found her room. There was only one guard, so he couldn't make it difficult for both of them. Somi was touched that he did not marry his mother after a long time apart. She apologized for suspecting her mother of abandoning her over the past time. Here she also asked her why she was hiding the fact that she was my mother's adopted child. She said that from the first day I met you, I considered you like the child I was born. So whoever says anything, you are still my daughter. So you also used the money to buy me? Do you know what this VIP card is? She burst into tears and always said that she didn't know. She didn't want to say it because that would put Somi in danger. She advised the Somi never to go near them and not to try to find out everything. Somi then took her mother away, but before she could get far, 2 nurses appeared to attack. These 2 girls were stronger than Somi and Du expected. Duan had to take out an electric gun to kill one of them, and Somi, thanks to her mother's help, was able to defeat the other girl. The king's gang was also here. She wrote that she couldn't go with her, so she told them to go first, and then she stayed to stop them. On this side, Hyun and Suksu are being knocked down by the common name Win. He killed both of them in a battle of life and death. After being beaten for a while, the 2 of them were able to respond to him. The rhythmic coordination of the 2 people made it impossible for Chung Win to do anything more. His disciples were also coming, so Hyun and Suksu immediately threw themselves through the window to escape. When I went outside, I met Somi and Duan, but unfortunately, people couldn't rescue her. Chung Win returned home to treat his wounds. Mrs. Chushi was worried when she saw her son like this. She always said that Chung Win was the child she loved the most. Chung Win was an orphan. His father killed his mother after he was born. The father then had to pay the price by going to prison to strip the calendar. Chung Win is always teased by his friends about his family's story. Then that day Mrs. Che Hai suddenly came to Chung Win. Here she said that she wanted to adopt Win. From that moment on, Chung Win went back to work under her side. However, Chung Win has never called Mrs. Say Hi by her mother. On this side, everyone has returned to the base. Duan advised everyone not to worry too much, but to wait patiently. He had already secretly placed the locator on their car before. Based on this, everyone immediately knew where they were operating. Looking at this photo, the father felt that there was a boy who looked very much like the son of Congressman Kong Man. The strange thing is that he passed away a few years ago. The family confirmed that the son rubbed himself because of school violence. But when Tan Cha Choi came to the school to investigate, the students were here. I have never seen him be violent. On the other side, everyone went to the base of the human trafficking gang. They have been standing here for 7 hours but have not seen any movement. When the sky turned dark, suddenly a lot of cars appeared. At this point, everyone knows that the VIP card is for going inside. Immediately afterwards, Hyun and Sukso disguised themselves as VIPs and walked in. The rest of the people outside monitored the situation through hidden cameras. Before going inside to attend, everyone must wear a mask. When they witnessed it with their own eyes, they all knew that this was a newborn auction. They bring out a baby that is supposed to be born naturally through a surrogate mother. My parents' backgrounds are very good. Dad graduated early from Science High School and was the youngest person to be admitted to Stanford Technical School. And her mother is a medical student at Seoul National University. These are the genes in the top one. They offer a starting price of 250,000. If the child has a disability, the money will be refunded until the child is 18 years old. The auction went on and the transaction price increased rapidly. After a while, someone closed it for more than 500,000. The other children were put up for auction by them one after another. There are children who are bought for nearly 1 million. Knowing this fact made everyone shocked by that cruelty. Hyun has to run to the toilet to vomit at the thought of the disgusting people here. When she walks outside, she meets Mrs. Sehee, but she can't recognize her yet. Turns out that Hyun used to be Sehee's adopted daughter. Moreover, she is the one who wants to kill her. That day, Hyun was only ranked second in the English contest, so Mrs. Sehee couldn't be satisfied. She always asked her daughter to step on others to stand at the top. She was even angrier when she saw that Hyun didn't understand that. He also went to congratulate his friend who stood above him. She wants Hyun to do everything to make herself the number 1 person. Hyun had no notion of stepping on others to move on. It was as if she was deliberately standing in second place to implicitly oppose her thoughts. Not long after, Hyun's family moved to a new place. Hyun's father also gave Sehee this house as a way to thank his wife all this time. Yet that very night she fell in love with her husband. Then he murdered him without mercy. It's just because of her nature to want to be the mother of the world and refuse to be behind anyone. At the same time, Hyun came out and asked her mother what she was doing. She didn't explain anything and then immediately took Hyun into her room to go to bed. Returning to reality, the father of the Choi went to Congressman Kong Won. Although the people here stopped him, he was still determined to get in. Here he asked about his son who had died 3 years earlier. Is he really dead? Chung Cha Choi showed Kang Won that photo. He admitted that the person in there looked a lot like my son. But he didn't want his father to turn over his sad past. Mr. Kang Won was very angry and sent his father away. On this side, people began to rearrange the puzzle pieces. Jua realizes that Sit has taken over the job of handling abandoned children from his senior. In the process, he saved people like us. There must be a person above the direction of the elder brother of the Tsit. That person not only handles the children, but also participates in selling the children to wealthy customers. These children are not orphans. They are made by donor sperm and eggs. The biological parents had no idea about their existence. The idea is that it is called a children's factory. The Nazis used to do such things to create perfect genes. Everyone immediately watched the video recorded in the auction area. They really took their hearts into Mrs. Sehai. Then they find the women who have donated their eggs. Among them, Hyan pays special attention to this girl. Not long after, Hyan followed the other girl to a bar. She has a reputation for being an excellent student in medicine. When she left, Hyan also followed. She took out her VIP card and handed it to a member of the human trafficking gang. And so they took her out of here. The next day, Hyan went back to the bar to keep an eye on the other girl. But when she went to the bathroom, Hyan stole her VIP card. Immediately afterwards, Hyan handed the VIP card to the gang member and left as the other girl had been. In the car, there were not only Hyan but also many other girls. They took them all to the hospital, where the girls here would donate their eggs. The girls were put into separate rooms one after another, and then blood was drawn for testing. On this side, Mr. Kang Won went to Mrs. Sehai. He angrily asked her how she handled everything so that the police came to me. Is that kid still alive? She admitted that it was still alive. He blamed her, but she used it to challenge him. That if everyone knew his son was alive, the whole of Korea would be turned upside down. If you like, just sue me. And when he heard this, he was silent. Mr. Kang Won then asked what she really wanted. I just want to put this unusual world back in its rightful place. I want to create perfect people on God's behalf. Things that even God cannot do when creating humans. I want you to propose an amendment to the law. We're going to fix a few lines in the law of bioethics, and I will handle your son's affairs smoothly. On the other side, the girls were injected with anesthesia to be taken into the egg retrieval room. Meanwhile, Hyun has finished dealing with the nurse and pretending to be her. At the same time, Brother Dung was also bringing in Hein here. Mrs. Sehai is trying to take her adopted daughter's egg to create an excellent child like Anhuin. Meanwhile, she didn't know what she was facing. The female nurse found that there was a person missing. She went back to her room to find her colleague in a coma on the bed. The emergency bell was immediately turned on to track down the runaway girl. Knowing that he has been discovered, Hyun quickly flees from here. Standing outside the Duan obtained the diagram of the building. He directs Hyun to the server room to steal the information. Hyun then rushed into the server room and plugged in the USB for Duan to handle. At the same time, they discovered that there was a navigation device under their car. They immediately informed Ronghyun about it. Through the stolen data, Duan found a list of thousands of customers who registered to buy. Plus, that's how they make the perfect child. By separating the good DNA from the bad DNA. Dongwon knows that there is an unauthorized intruder. He immediately ordered the entire building to be sealed off immediately. Then he informed Mrs. Sehee about it. Sehee is looking for the family of South Korea's youngest president. The lady was the one who had previously asked Mrs. Sehee to create a child like On Hein. This president loves his wife very much, so he couldn't leave his wife just because he couldn't have children. Moreover, the divorce will greatly affect the chair he is holding. Mrs. Sehee understood the difficulties that the two of them were facing. She promised to help them both become parents. In response, the president promised to give Ms. Sehee a favor. If it all ends well, he will remove unnecessary provisions in the law on the ethics of childbirth. On this side, Hyun was looking for a way out when she encountered the nurse. She told Hyun to take the girl inside to the witness room. Hyun doesn't know what to do other than to obey. It turned out that the girl who was about to be taken to get a witness was An Hein. Hyun was really surprised that this girl was so young. Anwin thought this was a test, so she lay down on the bed and let the nurse take a sample. Outside, Saiwoo recognizes his best friend. At that moment, Another nurse came to call the door, so Hyun ran away. Outside people suddenly couldn't contact Hyun. This makes everyone really uneasy. Siwoo also reveals that the girl standing in front of Hyun is a classmate of his. At the same time, they also discovered Hyun, so they immediately chased after him. Hyun ran into the elevator when suddenly the system reported an error. Then it automatically took her to a secret room. This is the place where all the records of the children they have created. They are divided into two types. One side is the children with high IQ, the other side is the children who have been eliminated by them. Hyun felt disgusted in front of these things. She went deep inside and saw the products being bred by them. The emergency bell got bigger and bigger, making Hyun really confused. She was forced to leave through the ventilation door. Outside, Siwoo decides to call on brother. The boy didn't explain everything clearly, but he wanted to make an appointment to meet you outside. At the same time, he advised you not to talk about it with anyone. After breaking the door for a while, Brother Dung and his accomplices also entered the secret room, but Hyun had already disappeared. Hyun, after escaping from there, received an order for all employees to gather in front of the line. They made them all take off their masks to check. One by one, they examined it carefully. The manager saw that Hyun didn't take off his mask, so he went to ask about it. Immediately, she gave him a punch and snatched his gun. Hyun holds him hostage and forces everyone to stand still. However, Dung brother left his junior's face and fired a gun at Hyun. Fortunately, Hyun quickly escaped. There were so many of them that she couldn't shoot them forever. Hyun continues to run away and gets lost in the room again. Here you and your accomplices can't use guns for fear of ruining everything around them. So they all switch to using knives to hunt down Hyun. With just his bare hands, Hyun silently dealt with them one by one. At the climax, Dong-Hwin pointed at the muzzle of the gun behind the girl. Hyun also quickly responded to him, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't win against him. Brother Dung sent the ancient bookkeeper Hyun outside. Taking this opportunity, she secretly placed a time bomb next to her, then quickly snatched a gun for self-defense. When you found out, it was too late. The bomb exploded, causing everyone to fly away. After a while, she was here. Both Ronghwin and Hyun are alive but are seriously injured. She whispers into Hyun's hand that her daughter is okay. I should have died by then, right? And Hyun could only cry when she thought about what she had done. After the explosion in the laboratory, Hyun is now in the hands of Mrs. Seehee. On this side, the president and his wife are watching a program that talks about amending the Bioethics Act, also known as the Law on Child Prostitution. There have been more than 500,000 people who support the sale of eggs and sperm. They argue that doing so will spur scientific progress. It is a breakthrough solution when South Korea's birth rate is declining sharply. They used the president as an example when he was in a situation where he couldn't have children. But there are also many people who oppose the amendment to this law. The lady is planning a fake pregnancy to get through the public eye. She will wear a belly pad or force her to gain weight while waiting for her child to come to life. The president wondered if the girl who was surrogate for him was Seehee's biological child. The wife immediately affirmed that it was true. I've verified and heard that she is very smart. But the fact that a mother would give her daughter to someone else is unimaginable. Meanwhile, An-Hwin is being held captive by Miso's group. Everyone always told her to stay calm and make sure she wouldn't be in danger. They want to use An-hun to ransom Hyun, who is trapped in there. They immediately texted Mrs. Seehee to talk about the exchange. Hyun is currently locked up in the warehouse by Mrs. Seehee. She is trying to end Hyun's life the way she once escaped death. At that moment, Miso's group drove straight inside. She brought An-Yoon out to threaten them to release him. Mrs. Seehee immediately agreed to release Hyun, because she desperately needs her daughter An-hein to get pregnant for the president. She hugged An-hein in her arms and then acted out the play of a good mother. At the same time, An-hein stopped, and she took the little girl back home. Mrs. Seehee was glad that An-hein was not hurt or anything, because tomorrow she has to take the little girl to see the lady. She told Dong-Hwin that if she is pregnant, don't let her out. Then she and Rong-hyun left to give An-yoon a rest. As soon as the two of them walked out of the room, An-hein opened his eyes. She had heard everything her adoptive mother had to say. In the hand of An-hein is Duan's phone number. Before that, he had left her with a place where she could contact him whenever he needed to. On this side, everyone brought Hyun back to the base when she was very seriously injured. They all wondered if the woman who had been Hyun's adoptive mother earlier Miso thought so because Hyun often watched her on TV. Then there are very strange gestures. At that moment, Hyun stopped shouting away, causing everyone to panic. The sausage immediately thought of Dr. Park and wanted everyone to call her. But Duan thinks she won't come if she doesn't have money. The next morning, the Tan Cha Choi went to the innkeeper by the seaside. He asked him about the people in the photo and especially Mr. Tessis. He immediately said that he did not know him, but Tan Cha Choi was convinced that he was lying. In the dream, Hyun remembered Mrs. Sehai. When she was a child, she always forced her to hold her breath in the water. Every time Hyun gets up early, she pushes her down. Those scenes have always haunted Hyun's life. Somi checked and Hyun's people were hot. At this time, everyone was forced to ask for help from Dr. Park because there was no other way. Somi said to Duan that we need to use that money. You and I should go to church together. But he didn't want to do that, and Somi immediately scolded Duan for being a coward. If she is unlucky to be hesitant because of you, don't blame me unintentionally. Duan angrily told Somi to shut her mouth because he didn't know anything. You don't know what pain I've endured. Why don't I know? Every night you answer begging and screaming. He always called his father's name and admitted all his mistakes. He kept running away in fear. Now it's time for you to face everything. You're not alone anymore because we're here, so let's all go to church. On this side, An-hun woke up, and Mrs. Sehai had prepared breakfast for her. She said that I must have been scared yesterday, but from today on, I will hire a bodyguard to protect me, so don't worry too much. It seems that the children yesterday misunderstood their mother about something. I just ate and then prepared things to follow my mother to this place. On the other side of the Suksu is contacting Dr. Park. She offered a price of 5,000 to treat Hyun's wounds. Suksu agrees and promises to pay after completion. Soon everyone sneaked into the church together to mix money. Here Duan sees a commemorative photo of his friend Hyun for the second time. That day Duan went to the church to pray. When he left because he met Hyun, he took Duan's hand and asked him what he had prayed for. Duan didn't reply to Hyun, revealing that, I've always come here to pray that I can be closer to you. A few days later, Duan met Hyun again at the church. At this time, Duan took the initiative to grab Hyun's hand and revealed that, I also really wanted to be close to him, but Hyun just smiled. Back to reality, everyone has opened the safe. Duan suddenly felt panicked, so he ran out of there. Everyone ran after Duan to ask what had happened, but he didn't say. At the same time, Mrs. Sehai was bringing in Hein to see the lady. Here An-hun asks permission to make tea for everyone. Witnessing this made the lady even more satisfied. The lady asked Mrs. Sehai if An-hun was in good health. She said that her first prayer period only started at this level last year. So you don't need to worry. Immediately afterwards, the lady wanted to talk to An-hein privately. She said that if you don't feel comfortable, you can still leave now. But An-hun said it's okay because that's what I want. Moreover, that is also what my mother wants. And I want to be a useful child to my mother. On the other side, Dr. Park has stitched up Hyun's wound. She needs a little more time to rest because of too much blood loss. People paid her and advised her not to reveal our whereabouts to anyone. At the same time, the Bioethics Act was amended and awaited its passage. But the opposition vehemently opposes this. It's like paving the way for open child trafficking. That evening Sehai took Mr. Kangwon to see the place where she created the children. If she doesn't like it, she will remove it immediately. She was convinced that what she was doing was changing the whole world. She wanted to create children with good genes and edit them. That way it won't take a lot of effort to get rid of them when you grow up. Mr. Kangwon seemed to want to vomit when he saw Mrs. Sehai remove the earrings. And she smiled happily at what she was doing. If the proposed amendment to the law is passed, then the pastor wants Ms. Sehai to hand over the license for the sperm and egg trading platform. He wants to build an adoption center that manages everything from adoption to sterilization of children in one go. Ms. Sehai thought the idea was very good and promised to issue him a business license. On this side, Hyun has regained consciousness. She doesn't even remember what happened now. Exodus showed Hyun the message that the Cha Choi had sent. He wants to see her and wants her to get back to him. Seeing that June looked melancholy, Hyun immediately approached and asked. Here he revealed that he wanted to take revenge on his adoptive father. He was the one who threw away June and harmed his dear friend. He was the pastor who was colluding with Sehai in the young business. Knowing about it, Hyun promises to help June fulfill this wish. The next day Somi and Exodus went to the church again. This time they wanted to put a hidden camera on the cash box to spy on the pastor. Before leaving, Somi left an envelope named June. Through the camera, people saw the pastor checking the money for the cigarette offering in the barrel. He paused when he saw the envelope bearing the name of his son June. On the back of the envelope was the name of the person who caused the death of the note. He seems to go crazy when he finds out that June is not dead. Immediately, the pastor and his wife went to a female magician pretending to be Hyun. They come to ask for a talisman to make their son June die. Hyun gave the pastor a talisman and told him to place it under the cross tree in the church. The amulet only works when it stops the great gods. Hyun immediately ran outside with her teammates when she finished the task. She asks June what religion they follow, and he says that they only follow money, not any religion at all. The next day, the pastor held a prayer for the scribe. He is the best friend of his family's missing son June. On this occasion, he also prayed for his son to return. Then both husband and wife shed fake tears. At that moment, the sorceress Hyun suddenly appears, and she announces that she has found his son. Hyun asks the pastor if he has hidden the talisman under the cross. Hearing this, everyone immediately turned to ask him what the amulet was. They uncovered his shirt and saw the talismans in it, which he could not deny. At the same time, June slowly walked in, causing everyone to panic. The pastor still didn't believe that June was still alive. He was extremely angry, but tried to show joy when he saw June again. He immediately went to hug his son in his arms, but was electrocuted by June. Immediately afterwards, everyone escorted him and his wife to the court. June fed this garbage guy punches, doing dirty things just for money. In response, he says that June is just an obsessive person with men. This scene reminded June of the old story. At that time, he also beat June in this room. John walked by and saw everything. Immediately afterwards, the pastor found John. He asked him if he really liked June. John did not hesitate to nod his head and affirm that it was so. But if you really want June to be happy, you should disappear. At that time, he was directing June to be a pastor. But if a pastor likes a son, God will not be able to accept it. Not long afterwards, Gion died suddenly by suicide. He leaves June with a suicide note. He always has a special affection for June. However, he must choose to leave this world so that June can be happy. Going back to the pastor who blamed all his sins on June's head when he thought that June was the one who killed him. If you hadn't been with him, he wouldn't have died. June angrily threw painful punches at him in the face. He was even going to end the life of this enlightened man. He was extremely scared and kept begging June to spare his life. He promised to give all the money he had in exchange for this life. Hearing this, June spared his life. Everyone then left with a huge bag of money in hand. All of that money will be donated to the children's fund. When Dong Hein arrived, there were only the pastor and his wife and the empty safes. He immediately called Mrs. Sehai so that the pastor could talk. Miss Sehai announced that she would not hand over the business license he had mentioned. When he just turned off the phone, he immediately ate a fatal knife blow from Dong Hein. The next day, the police arrived at the scene where the pastor and his wife were murdered. The police believe that the son who disappeared 2 years ago, June, is the suspect in the murder of the two. Through the camera, the authorities confirmed that June had more accomplices. Then they released a photo of all the team members. Sasu's mother saw her son on television and couldn't help but be deserving. She calls her husband Kangwon to talk about it, while Sasu is still alive. Mr. Kangwon immediately called Mrs. Sehai in anger. He reproached Mrs. Sehai for not being able to handle the sausage. She promised to handle me beautifully and then turned off the phone. Tan Cha-choi is gathering evidence at the scene. He doesn't think June is aggressive. If he wants to take revenge, he has to plan in advance. But with such a massive scene, there must be no plan at all. At that time, another investigation unit came here. They announced that they would take over this case. The policeman insisted that this was a serial murder case. The superior issued a directive to transfer the case this time. Meanwhile, Ms. Sehai is making an appointment to meet with the director of the police department. He had also been a customer of her children. He revealed that the Cha-choi was trying to dig things up. Mrs. Sehai is not too worried because she is confident that she can handle the Cha-choi stick at any time if she wants. Ms. Sehai does not need the police to investigate this case of Duan. There is also no need for the police to verify whether Mr. Kangwon's son is still alive or not. Instead, she wanted to destroy them all in her own way. On the other side of Hyun's group receives a phone call from the Cha Choi bar. People who don't dare to pick up the phone still can't trust him. Tan Cha Choi left a message that I know people are not perpetrators and I want to help them all. Hyun thought about this a lot. She was forced to trust the Cha Choi bar because she had no other choice. That same night, Hyun decides to make an appointment to meet Cha Choi at the subway station. When he arrived, Hyun left the bag and left. Inside are the records of discarded children like her. Hyun also sends the Cha Choi a recording in which Kang-woon confirms that he wants to get rid of his adopted son. 17 years ago, with the excuse that the product was defective. The news of the discarded children suddenly coming back alive left everyone bewildered. The customers who had returned the goods flocked to Mrs. Sehee to ask for clarification. Recent cases from Mr. Chunso or the pastor have involved children who have been discarded. They don't want themselves to be the next victim. Mrs. Sehee advised everyone to trust her. Those resurrections accounted for only 1% of the children she handled. Mrs. Sehee confirmed that if the children of those present here suddenly appeared, then she will compensate each person 10 billion won. Hearing this, they were really relieved. The next day, the Cha Choi went to Mr. Kang-won. He showed him the recording in which he himself confirmed that he wanted to get rid of his son. He pretended that someone had used Yelts and faked my voice. He insisted that his son was dead. But Tan Cha Choi was always addicted to thinking that he was still alive. If my son is alive, please bring him here. I also really want to see my son again. Let me see it first if you find it. The scene of the journalist reporter finding Mr. Kang-won to clarify this. He acted again and then knelt down and begged everyone to stop. He admitted that he was not good enough, so his son ran away from home. He begged everyone to leave everything quiet and stop torturing him. Then both husband and wife immediately shed fake tears. Ms. Cha Hai watched this scene and couldn't help but laugh at Mr. Kang-won's acting. She orders Dong Hyun to know that Kang-won is trying to find his son and kill him. She plans to take action against all of them and blame Kang-won. On this side, the colleague saw that the father Choi bar had the records of the children removed. When he went out, he took pictures of everything and then he sent it to Rong Hein. Today is also the day that An Hein will be taken to conceive. She asked Dong Hein if she would be thrown away after giving birth. Aren't you afraid that mother will throw you away? Dong Hein didn't say anything and left a blank in his mind. On this side, Mr. Kang-won sought out a gangster. He came here to ask them to find his son. In addition, kill him. It didn't take long for these gangsters to find the base of Hyun and his teammates. Mr. Kang-won promised to pay them 200 million won if everything went smoothly. They immediately set out to act, and the father of the sword was also silently watching behind. On the other side, Hyun receives a message asking for help from the little girl and Hein. So she left alone to let the other members stay. After a while, Hyun blocked the road of the car carrying An Hein. She easily knocked down the driver's name to rescue her. At the same time, the doctors were carrying An Hein to come, but they couldn't see him. Calling the driver's name could not be contacted. Chung Cha Choi texts Hyun to reveal that Kang-won is walking towards her base. It seemed that they already knew where she was. Hyun immediately calls Suk-soo and tells them to leave quickly. At the same time, Dong Hein was silently following his father's sword. He had planted a bomb in his car before. He immediately pressed the button, causing the father's car to explode. Meanwhile, gangsters and Kang-won were at the base. They immediately settled in when they had not yet had time to leave here. Although they tried very hard to respond, everyone couldn't escape. One by one, they were easily captured. After everything was done, Mr. Kang-won appeared. He then asked why you are still alive. Why did you torture your father from beginning to end like this? You're worse than the dog I raised. You bark like you once let me hear it. Suk-soo chose to be silent. Then he immediately brought his friends out and threatened to kill them. Coming here, the coin will bubble as he wished. Then he begged him to spare their lives. He wanted to die for the unrelated people on the other side. Hearing this, he immediately threw the knife in front of the coin box. As for EXO Mai and Doon, they are always addicted to coin shovels and advised them not to do so. Suk-soo took the knife in his hand and quickly grabbed Mr. Kang-won as a hostage. Seeing this, the gangsters immediately released EXO Mai and Doon. But that's not enough for this hatred. He was about to give Mr. Kang-won a fatal knife when he fired a shot at the coin box. He also didn't forget to send Mr. Kang-won back to him. When Hyun arrived, It was too late, and the coin had collapsed in everyone's arms. He only had time to say goodbye to everyone before going to the afterlife. At the same time, Brother Deng's people poured a lot of gasoline into here. They locked the door tightly so that no one could escape. Brother Deng coldly lit a fire to burn the people in it.